call the meeting to order of March 18th, 2020. First thing on the agenda will be accept or modify the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Ms. Fox, would you tell us about the food service program we have going on now?
I would be very happy to. So we started this week serving at E. Wilson Morrison, and that was phase one. So we began a drive-through so that we could limit contact but provide both breakfast and lunch to any students who came through Monday through Friday. It was very successful. The first day we had 61 students. Today we had 145 students.
Awesome.
So I expect there'll be more again tomorrow. And because we see that we do have that need, and we also see that there are people that perhaps we are missing, we are adding a second phase to that starting next Tuesday.
Okay.
We are going to take the van that we serve summer meals, and we're going to follow that same route. So as of Tuesday, we'll be adding 6 sites: Rusty Jeffries Elementary School, Royal Arms Apartments, Royal Hills Apartments, Skyline Vista Apartments. Front Royal Church of the Nazarene is just kind of a nice central location, and the Brinklow Road, including Hattie Street.
Okay.
So we'll be taking the van and delivering meals Monday through Friday. We'll have times posted for those. Actually, tomorrow it should be on our site as well as out on Twitter, Facebook. We'll have it out everywhere.
All social media.
With the times, and it'll be about 15 minutes, and it'll be a little different than the summer program in that they won't have to stay and eat it there. They can take it and go back to their apartments or their houses, or they don't have to stay as they do in the summer. So we'll limit contact in that way. The one thing that is consistent, I just got off of a webinar with the state, and it had many agencies, and the one thing that is consistent across all counties, all programs, is that children do have to be present at the time that the meals are given.
Okay.
To try to lessen a little bit of that burden is why we're including 2 meals so that people don't have to come twice. And if we're able to extend the following week, we hope to add another phase 3 to the program, where we'll go to some of the communities that are more in the outside of the county.
Outlying areas.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be delivering there. And in those particular cases, we're going to see if we can deliver multiple days. So maybe on Monday, we would do Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, to help families not have to get to those sites as often. And we're working with transportation, who's looking at ways to help us to deliver meals to people who might even have more difficulty with getting to our locations.
That's great. I mean, you and your staff have done a tremendous job putting this together, and I know it's all new to everybody, and thank you for feeding our children.
Well, thank you very much, and our staff really has gone above and beyond. They've volunteered, they're willing to come in, and they're really happy to serve the children, as well as the community has been so gracious. I've had many emails and texts and people offering to help us, and we really appreciate that, and we will use that in ways that we can. It's a little bit difficult because of some of the regulations, but we do thank the community for that.
Great. Any questions?
Are we still able to maintain the backpack program on Thursdays, or they give them the backpack? Are we able to do that to some extent?
We are hoping, since we're serving an extra day in this program, it would then be on Friday. It is on Thursday in the summer, and I am in contact with Lori Glasscock, who is trying to get all of the churches to see if they can help us by bringing it to maybe E. Wilson or the sites that we'll be leaving from, and we hope to be able to deliver the backpacks on Fridays and also give them out at E. Wilson when they have. We just haven't heard if that's a definite yet, because it's going to be significantly more than what they currently do.
Are you using the data from the summer program to determine how many meals you need to pack? And
We did initially, and I think we're going to far exceed that, and that's kind of the scary part. We're afraid not to have enough, so we're really gearing up, and that's why we had to roll it out in several phases to make sure that we could do it well.
because you doubled from yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
So were you prepared for that today?
We were. And we're prepared to be doubled tomorrow, so come on and see us.
Financially, if people want to make a donation, is there?
If they would like to, we certainly could utilize that to perhaps offer other things. We are currently going from school, and I apologize, I normally wouldn't be dressed like this, but we actually
You're
are
fine.
moving food from school to school to take all the produce and things that would be perishable, use those first, maximize what we have in stock, use our inventories, and then when we've depleted all of the school's resources, then we'll start ordering, and that's actually gonna happen on Monday, so we'll have depleted all of that.
That's good.
Do you feel pretty comfortable that you'll be able to get more supplies?
I do at this time. I've talked to the milk company, and it is a limited, less days than we currently have to being delivered, but they seem to think that they'll be able to deliver milk to us. We have water just in case. There is a waiver that you can apply for if milk is unavailable. We did bring water in anticipation of that, and we're getting juice and other things to drink in that meal to make sure that students have things to drink. The suppliers seem to be geared up for it as well.
Great.
Are we able, we're sorry, are we able to use like the column network to like maybe put it
mass.
on blast?
Absolutely, we're gonna do that this evening or tomorrow morning. Yes, absolutely.
Make them aware.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. All right, anything else from Ms. Fox?
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
again
you to Ms.
for
Ballard.
everything you do for
Ms.
us.
Ballard as well. I know she's been a big help in this as well.
Thank you. And I will leave these if anyone is interested.
Okay,
Thank you.
have a
Thank
good
you for your
night.
time.
Thank you. All right, next is our consent agenda.
I move that we,
Oh, sorry,
do we need to make a change?
sorry. They're good.
Where are we?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Second. All right, motion carries.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? Yes. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Action agenda, appointment of school board representative on the Fauquier Rappahannock Warren Regional Special Education Governing Board. Ms. Sheppard.
Thank you. At its February 5th, 2020 meeting, the school board, by resolution, agreed to join the Fauquier Rappahannock Warren Regional Special Ed Program. One requirement of membership is that each school board appoint a member representative to attend meetings of the governing board. According to the agreement, members will serve a 2-year term. So it's very similar to the Mount Vista Governor School Governing Board. We'll need a representative who will meet, I believe this one's quarterly.
Quarterly.
Well, I know Mr. Rinaldi has worked with special education. Is that something you'd be interested in?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
What do we know when?
So we do not know when at this point. This board is just beginning to form, so we do not know when the meetings are going to be quarterly. So we could say probably once a month at 8 or 9 o'clock, or once a quarter at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And it will probably last for an hour to an hour and a half each meeting. So 4 times a year.
I'd be willing to serve
Okay.
if you want.
It doesn't, I'm up for it either way, it doesn't matter.
You flip a coin then, decide who.
Well, I think you've got the experience in it, and I think it's particularly if it's a new,
Yeah.
you know,
That was my
Okay.
question. You might be
Yeah.
able to bring something to the table if you wrote that.
well, that and your experience in Fauquier County as well, so.
Okay. I'll do it.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely defer.
Okay.
You want a
The
motion?
motion, please.
I move that Mr. Ralph Rinaldi be appointed to a 2-year term as the Warren County School Board Representative on the Fauquier Rappahannock Warren Regional Special Education Program Board for calendar years 2020 and 2021.
Do I have a second? Mr. Wells, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same response.
You
Motion
want
carries.
the license plate of that truck? Blue through there?
Approval of additional appropriation request for fiscal 2020, Ms. Sheppard.
Thank you. Due to greater than anticipated student enrollment, 65 students, and greater than projected state sales tax collections, and amendments to the current budget recently enacted by the General Assembly, Warren County Public Schools will receive $534,370 more in state revenue than initially budgeted. It is recommended that this additional funding be used to purchase replacement reading textbooks for kindergarten through 5th grade.
Discussions?
This is the current budget year.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is the current budget year.
Well,
We
we're
have
working in
65 more students. We anticipate having 65 more students this year than we budgeted for. And our sales tax numbers are up at this point.
What'll happen is if we don't, this money's gonna come to us from the state before June 30th regardless. If we don't get an additional appropriation to receive and spend it, it'll roll into our surplus at the end of the year, which may or may not be available to you then in the following year, depending on the Board of Supervisors reappropriating it then. And so what we would need to do is make sure we get these textbooks in, and we've been told we can before June 30th and have them billed before then.
So with this purchase, it will allow us to do away with a reoccurring cost of between $20,000 and $25,000 each year for kindergarten and 1st grade textbooks that we currently have.
How long will those books be used roughly? I mean,
It depends.
okay, I mean, how,
So the adoption cycle is every 7 years.
Okay.
So between 7 and, at the Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday, I presented that some books are well used, like our geometry and our calculus books are 20 years old.
okay.
Oh, my.
Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah, 20.
Well used.
Oh, good thing geometry and calculus don't change.
Yeah, so, okay, so we got a lifespan of about 7. so-
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Ms. Sheppard? Excuse me. Do I have a motion?
I move that the superintendent be authorized to request from the Board of Supervisors that the fiscal year 2020 operating budget appropriation be increased by $534,370.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Approval of change order procedure for AS Roads Elementary School renovation. Ms. Sheppard.
Thank you. As part of the AS Roads Elementary School renovation project, guidelines for approval of change orders needs to be established. The change order guidelines for Warren County Middle School when it was under construction were as follows. $25,000 or less required only the superintendent's approval. $25,000 to $50,000 required both the superintendent and the board chair's approval. $50,000 or more required full board approval. The recommendation is to keep the change order guidelines the same for the renovation project at AS Roads Elementary School. Be happy to answer any questions.
It's only a housekeeping note, and I should have called it earlier. We ought to have 25,000 in one to 50 and 50,000
Yes.
in one. That's, I mean, sorry, but that's the only, other than that, I think personally keep it the way it is. Anybody thoughts?
I'm talking about that project because I don't see that kind
No,
of above that change orders being kind of
I don't either.
Except for in just a minute.
Yeah.
When we talk about
We had the
HVAC.
one for the HVAC, but that
Yes.
was just not closed at the beginning, so. I mean, that's-
That was kind of an expected
It was,
decision.
yeah, it was up in the air for quite a while, and finally got it worked out. Do I have a motion?
I move the guidelines for change orders for AS Roads Elementary School renovation project be established at $25,000 or less, require the superintendent's approval. Change orders in the amount of $25,001 to $50,000 require both the superintendent's approval and the board chair's approval. And change orders greater than $50,000 require full board approval.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of change order for addition of HVAC C system for A.S. Rhodes Elementary School renovation project. Ms. Sheppard.
Thank you. Before we start on this agenda item, just wanted to let you know that our first modular unit arrived at A.S. Rhodes Elementary School this morning and was being set up around noontime today. November 19th, 2019, the Warren County School Board approved awarding the A.S. Rhodes Elementary School renovation project to Lance Construction Company of Winchester, LCW. On November 19th, 2019, the Warren County Board of Supervisors approved transferring an additional $629,191 from the school bond refinancing to Warren County Public Schools for the renovation of A.S. Rhodes Elementary School. With the additional funds available from the bond refunding and money that is available in our capital improvement fund, we would like to recommend approval to authorize LCW to purchase and install HVAC units at A.S. Rhodes Elementary School for the cost of $719,800. This is a reduction of $25,000 from the cost LCW provided in their original bid. The recommendation is to approve this change order in the amount of $719,800 to include the purchase and installation of HVAC for A.S. Rhodes Elementary School renovation project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Sheppard brought up some points to me earlier today. We were discussing this, and I think they're valid, that, if we don't put it in now, we can have the roof cuts made, sealed up, and it's not in there. But what if the roof cuts are wrong? Or the new people, you hire somebody else and they put it in, they damage the roof, then you get in that contract contest of going back and forth. Well, it wasn't me, it was you. So I feel it would save us money on the front side. I know it's a lot of money to spend that we hadn't really planned, but we had definitely thought about it. So I think it's the right thing to do. We're going to remodel the school.
I think in our original vision,
It was.
it was to do the HVAC, and it's sort of one of the more important things to do is to renovate that HVAC if we're going to remodel that school for future.
Right. For long-term.
For a long-term future use.
I agree. Anything? Anybody? No? Do I have a motion?
I move approval be given for the interim superintendent to sign change order number 001 in the amount of $719,800 to authorize Lance Construction Company of Winchester to purchase and install HVAC units at A.S. Rhodes Elementary School.
Have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our work session. COVID-19 response update and discussion. Ms. Sheppard.
Thank you. We receive information regularly, daily, twice a day about the COVID-19 coronavirus. And the latest information is that the governor is going to issue additional school closures. We have talked with our neighboring counties, and we know what they're going to do. So my recommendation is going to be that we close school through Tuesday, April the 14th. And that will mean that we have missed 14 days of school due to the coronavirus. We have 4 built-in weather days, so which will mean that we actually have missed 10 days, which we could use bank time in order to cover those 10 days. And we still have a few additional days that we could use bank time for, which we wouldn't have to make up at the end of the school year. But any time that we would miss after April the 14th would mean that we would have to consider how we were going to make up that time. We understand that it is a hardship on parents as far as finding care for their children, but we think it's in our best interest and our family's best interest to try to keep the coronavirus and our students and our staff safe and healthy. So that's my recommendation. There doesn't need to be a approval, but just wanted to get your thoughts.
Any thoughts?
I'm still waiting to see how all this pans out. It
Yeah.
changes daily, so.
It's-
just-
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Wells probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's changing, sometimes it seems like it's changing by the hour. But in the big picture with the school system, I think, I mean, if the governors won't let us go back to school, that's sort of a given to begin with. You know, the concern would be, you know, that a lot of parents wouldn't send their students or their children anyhow, so that then we would be into the inequity of attendance and absences and that type of thing. I just, you know, I think we've attempted thus far to do a good job of providing home opportunities, you know, learning opportunities and that kind of thing. And I think most parents are taking that seriously and at least trying to maintain some learning opportunities for their children and that kind of thing. And I think, you know, I just, as best we can, I'd like to be able to protect all of our employees as well and financially as well as, you know, but it's just sort of unprecedented and we will make changes as we need to make changes.
I think it's best to make that decision early, though, so parents have the opportunity to get the ball rolling
To
and make
adjust.
plans and
Right.
do what they need to do.
And that was the intent about talking about it tonight, is to go ahead and be able to make a decision so parents would be able to have an opportunity to make other arrangements for their children. We have asked all of our staff who are 65 years or older to work from home starting tomorrow. So that was a recommendation from the governor. And we would like to recommend that we have essential personnel, which would be principals, directors, transportation staff, food service staff, custodians, report to work, but everybody else do a work from home type situation, if that seems to be appropriate.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is just to make sure that we're consistent with that. I mean, that we have a roster of essential, so that there's not some folks who feel like I'm essential, but they won't let me come to work and that type of thing. And, you know, I guess you want to call it a true appeals process, but if somebody feels like I need to be on site because I need files or something like that, then, you know, we have the ability to allow that to some extent.
Right. Our buildings will be accessible, but for those people who do not feel comfortable coming in during the working hours, and they can come in after hours or weekends or whatever, so they're not coming in contact with other people who may have the virus.
Do you know if most of our students have Chromebooks at home with them, or
6th through 12th grade, took their Chromebooks
they
home
did?
with them
Okay, good.
the last day. It seems like we've been out for quite some time. It hasn't been that long.
3 days?
So, but they took Chromebooks home with them on Friday when they left. So yes, our elementary schools we have Chromebook carts for the K through 5. So they probably not as many elementary school students
Probably not
have.
as needed as secondary.
We are having conversations now with transportation about delivering Chromebooks or instruction to students like on their regular bus route. So we're having those conversations. This week and next week we extended spring break. So there's no expected work from students. Work will follow
Okay.
as we continue to be out.
Good.
We're definitely in uncharted waters, and Ms. Sheppard has been on top of it. I mean, she has been chasing everything and conference calls. So, you know, things are going to change. don't know how they're gonna change, nobody does, and, we just wanna make sure everybody is taken care of, bottom line. You know, whether it's the student or the faculty, that everybody is taken care of. And Mr. Grant, unfortunately, he's not here. He mentioned something about Xfinity was offering free Wi-Fi. I don't know how that'll help our community, but
So for 60 days, Xfinity or Comcast is offering free Wi-Fi for all of our low socioeconomic students for free. So, and they may have extended that to all students, but I'm not completely sure about that. So we'll get that information out to our parents along with all this other information that we're getting ready to send.
That was actually gonna be my question. Do you know for the students that do live out in the county where internet connections are bad anyway, have you been contacted with concerns or what are you doing to kind of address?
Right, we have not been contacted with concerns, but we have been I have been on several conference calls with the state superintendent, and one of his contentions is that if all of our students aren't receiving the education, we need to be very careful about providing new information. We could provide review and practice, but we really need to be careful about requiring students to learn new information without the support of a teacher or without the support of some type of virtual learning, so.
we had discussed, like the Browntown area, how the internet.
Right,
as
it
you well
depends
know.
on
Yeah.
what you have out there.
Right, absolutely, so that is a place where we are looking to see how we can offer instruction to those students.
So, are these students being graded on what they're supposed to be doing or no? Because I understand the fall year that they brought the teachers in to do it and then it kind of got changed around a little bit.
So the guidance at this time from the state superintendent is that the work that the students are doing at home at this time is not graded.
Right.
It's more for practice or
Sure.
for continued instruction, but not graded.
Dr. Jeck sent his message out today.
Mm-hmm.
Came in around noon.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're going to send one out tomorrow?
Either late tonight or tomorrow
Okay.
morning, yes. We want to give our parents as much opportunity as they can
Sure.
have to make other arrangements because we know it is difficult. It's a difficult time for everyone.
Yep.
Anything else on COVID for Ms. Sheppard?
WCEA, are there been any communication or any issues from them?
We're just gonna do what you used to do. That's, I know that there have been a lot of teachers that have on Facebook made themselves available for parents that have questions and things like that. I know that I sent out some online stuff for all those kids who are stuck home with recorders. I'm sure their parents love me, but so we're gonna do what we need to do to make sure our kids get what they need.
If this goes on for a while, would it be helpful if the teacher called the students and see how they're doing, if they had any questions or stuff like that?
I think that's a great idea. And we can set up through Google, it's called Google Meet, we can set up some virtual activities where students can log on. We just have to be careful about the students who do not have connection.
Yeah.
And where they would have went for connection previously are also being closed, like the libraries and places like that. So we just have to be careful.
A telephone call,
Absolutely.
kind of
Yes.
in person.
Yes.
Are you doing okay? Is there anything you
That's a
need?
great
We
idea.
have the free lunch thing.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the kid might really feel like he's included,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Kristen, to your point, Tim was also talking about hotspots.
Right.
I know we have hotspots that we can send home.
That's correct.
Maybe send a message if the parent wants one of those, we can somehow work through that and get that out to them, and that may be some help. But yeah, something like a Skype or I know Valley Health. This is just one piece. I'm sure there's a different, but there's an app called Zoom,
Zoom.
that some of our physical therapists and exercise physiologists are gonna try and utilize to like teach classes. It's almost like Peloton. They said, you know, they can see the person doing their exercises and give them instruction and that kind of thing.
We actually Zoomed this morning with our principals, which was one of our first experiences, and it went well. It was a great way to communicate. We can still continue to do business as usual and have meetings through Zoom, so absolutely.
It works well, it really
It
does.
does.
Right. Okay. So that might be a definite possibility.
The state superintendent also said on his conference call, it was yesterday, that he is looking at applying for waivers for SOL testing and things like that. And he is also will be accepting waivers for graduation requirements and those types of things so that we can so that students can graduate and we may or may not have to test SOLs at this point, depending on when we return to school. We should know more information on Friday.
Still a lot of ifs though, you know, I mean, hate to be that way, and I know Ms. Sheppard hates to not be able to just give you a definitive answer, but that's what we know now.
That's where we're at.
Okay, anything else? All right. We move to closing. Mr. Wells.
Yeah, this motion is made that this open public meeting of the Warren County School Board become a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711. The school board desires to discuss the following matters in a closed session. Section 2.2-3711A11, discussion or consideration of honorary degrees or special awards, specifically consideration of candidates for inclusion in the Roy K. Boyle's Wall of Recognition in the VSB Business Honor Roll, and Section 2.2-3711A1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of employees of the school board, specifically a transportation department employee personnel issue. Is that it? Two? You got it?
Second.
Could we have a roll call, Mr. Valentine?
Yes. Mrs. Bauer.
Aye.
Dr. Pence.
Aye.
Mr. Rinaldi.
Aye.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman.
Aye. Now on a close.